Father's Day is practically upon us, and I thought it would be good to talk about what should we do for Father's Day as carnivores. Public observances can always be kind of tricky for us, right? Go to social gatherings, and there's always weird food options. Sometimes we become a little on the outside of these things. So I thought, well, why not offer a great way to do Father's Day for ourselves here? And so I got to ask you a basic rhetorical question. What, according to the typical carnivore, is the king of steaks? That's simple. It's a classic ribeye steak, right? Every carnivore pretty much agrees the ribeye is the king of steaks. But what is the king of ribeyes? What's this? The tomahawk ribeye, the classic bone-in ribeye cut from the part of the ribeye roast that attaches to the ribs that has those big rib bones. A cowboy cut ribeye is typically a little different. It comes from a different part where it's got the smaller bones. But the tomahawk has that big bone, and it's just, there's something primally satisfying about gnawing the meat off that bone. So I thought, why not do a sort of video on how to make one of these? They can be tricky. I mean, they're practically the size of a small roast. And now a lot of people think, well, those are expensive. For a holiday of any kind, really, it's okay, I think, to splurge a little bit. And they're not as expensive as you think if you go to the right place. I've seen tomahawk ribeyes at Sam's Club for $30, marked down to about 20 before. And the one I'm going to show you here, well, as you'll see, I got this at Walmart. Yep, as you can see here, that is a USDA Angus, what they call premium choice tomahawk ribeye steak. Like I said, this came from Walmart. Still trying to figure out the logistics of this camera a little bit, folks. And it's not as easy as it looks to film these things on camera. But this is a premium choice at what Walmart calls premium choice tomahawk ribeye steak, which means it's almost prime. And it was $30.99 for 2.96 pounds. And here's some Redmond's real salt. The price for this thing was actually cheaper than a typical ribeye steak. Their typical choice ribeyes go for $11.97 or $12.97 a pound, and this was $10.46. Tells me they could probably sell all their ribeyes for that cheap. That bone weighs about 8 ounces, by the way, and so here I am liberally applying Redmond's real salt. I ended up probably putting a teaspoon and a half on that thing, but again, it's 2.5 pounds of meat. So when you're salting this, I don't salt to taste because it didn't help with my heart palpitations. I had to salt beyond taste for my own needs. So yeah, make sure to pat the salt in there. Also do the sides, folks. You want that fat cap on the ends, on the edge of the ribeye to actually have the salt on it. Making a bit of a mess here. That's totally fine when you're cooking. Make a bit of a mess. Just clean up after yourself. So here we are out at the smoker on a Rectech 1250 pellet grill. It's a little dusty on the outside. I cleaned the inside recently. Didn't really do much with the outside. But here we are. We're going to turn this bad boy on to a classic smoking temperature of 225 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're going to put this on the cool side of the pellet grill. So pellet grills have a range of temperatures on the inside, range of like heat zones. And on the right side over by the chimney is the hot area. Probably has to do with convection of air or something. I'm not a physicist, so I don't really know. I just know where that's a hot zone. So we put this on the left side, near actually where its internal thermometer is, that helps it with the temperature reading. And we are running in this a almost empty hopper, which is by design. I'm trying to burn down the last of my pellets. It's a mixture of pecan and char hickory. The char hickory pellets kind of mimic a little bit the flavor profile of charcoal without any of the problems that a lot of carnivores have with charcoal. A lot of the chemical accelerants in them tend to cause a reaction with people. So anyway, you're seeing that ribeye on there, and now we're coming here we're taking about an hour later, and it's at an internal temperature of 108. Not cooked enough for our purposes. I'm aiming for 125, give or take. And so look at that, though, after about an hour. Just a beautiful color on that. It's red. The meat is red. The fat on it has turned kind of golden. But one rule here, you have to double check yourself. You didn't really get a good shot there of the probe. It was 109. So always double check the temperature. And you're going to see me do that again here because the probe from the grill says it's at a 125. but as it turned out, it wasn't. So what I did is I just let it cook for a couple more minutes, and we're going to now use the probe again to check, because we want this to be 125, give or take, and it was too far below 125. It was at 122 before. Can't really see it, just the light on that on the thing, but it was at 124, which is close enough for government work, as they say. So doing a little temperature check before you grab that bone handle. Was a little taut to the touch, so I used some tongs to pull the thing out. I mean, there's a giant ribeye. The tongs got a little dirty from before when I was moving the steak around, but take a look at that in the color. It's it was very red with a golden fat cap. And I would bring it into the house onto my one cast iron pan that would actually work for this, because it doesn't have various sides. And I'm searing that on a medium-high heat, not very long on each side. We're not going for, we cooked it to rare, but the internal temperature of the steak will increase as it rests. So this probably finished at a medium, or rare to medium rare, somewhere between that. And so you always want to be a little careful when you do the searing part, especially on a weird shaped pan like this one. But you don't want to do it too long, because you don't want to create enough grease in the pan that could cause a problem. But you also want to make sure you don't overcook your steak. Again, I like my steaks rare medium to medium rare. That's typically my happy place. And so there it is. You can see that golden crust on the top, and it's done on the main side. So always sear the sides. You want to also lock that flavor in and get the sides done perfectly. There's no reason to ruin your steak by omitting to do that. Again, doing the narrow side a little bit, and doing also the most narrow side. I'm not going to bother trying that bone side. There's no reason to do that anyway with that. Yeah, that's a 2.96 pound tomahawk ribeye steak. Now here we go, cutting into the steak. Got lighting issues in this kitchen. Take a look at the color of that steak. You can see it even before we get to the zoom close up picture. Is if I were to pan fry a little slice that, you get to see the smoke ring, but you can see it's got a beautiful red color. It's very, very tender. For me, this steak was cooked perfectly. There's the bone. I cut the bone in. It didn't really get on camera when we did this, but that bone was delicious, by the way. And I saved that bone it went into my bone bag, which it barely fit in. It was just one of the really large size freezer bags. And I'm going to be making bone broth with that in the future. Probably in the fall. It's too hot to do that right now. It'll steam up my house. And here in Oklahoma, we've already had 98-degree days, and it's only mid-June. So I'm going to hold those bones until probably September before I try making some bone broth. But I will, at that time, record the process, put it up on YouTube for you guys, because a lot of people want to know how to make a purely strict carnivore bone broth. I've got boxes of Kettle and Fire in my cupboard, but they use vegetables in it, and I do strict carnivore, so I don't even want that. So I'm going to make my own. I did find a bone broth at Walmart that might be acceptable. I'm going to show it to you in a video on shelf stable carnivore items from Walmart kind of video in the near future. But yeah, that's a tomahawk ribeye steak. You can get them at Walmart for like $30. Not a bad deal for a special occasion. I don't recommend eating something that expensive every day, but $30 is not bad for Father's Day, which I think is, a tomahawk ribeye at that price is actually a steal, because if you went to a restaurant to order, they'd be paying at least $80 probably. So let me know what you thought of that in the comments, please. Let me know what you want to see next. I know I've promised that I will do a brisket. That's my hope is that'll be in the coming week. Hopefully I can get a little more practice with this camera and the setups. It's not as easy as it looks, folks. My hat is off to all the people who run barbecue channels who can get the filming correct. I must have taken a lot of trial and error. But I'm going to do a brisket next. I found a interesting quality brisket the other day. I just needed to get a few more pieces of equipment so I can do my best to properly trim it. Anyway, let me know what you thought of this in the comments, please. Like and subscribe if you haven't. It does help these new channels grow. If you're new here, my channel is focused on a lot of practical concerns about the carnivore diet, including how to understand how things going on in the broader world affect the price of the meat that you're getting, or the potential future access to meat that you may not have due to some of the things going on out in the world, and why meat costs what it does, why you should care about some of the things government does regarding food, because all those things affect our quality of life on the carnivore diet. Anyway, like I said, like and subscribe if you haven't. It helps. And as always, go out and optimize your day today.